In this video, we're going to continue our discussion with multiplying polynomials. So let's talk about multiplying two binomials using the FOIL method. Now, the FOIL method is nothing more than a special case of the distributive property. So FOIL is the same thing as first, outer, inner, and last. So for instance, if I take this binomial and multiply by this binomial, these two multiply to give me the f. These two terms give me the outer. These two in the middle give me the inner. And these give me the last. Okay. Combine the like terms. And we're done. Now again, the FOIL method will only be useful if you have a binomial times a binomial. Okay, so let's multiply some polynomials then. So again, I have a binomial times a binomial, so I'll use the FOIL method again. So that gives me 15x squared. Outer gives me 6x. Inner gives me negative 20x. And last gives me negative 8. Combine like terms. Okay. And notice it's in descending order. Okay, so now let's multiply this binomial times this binomial. So again, I'll use the FOIL method here. So this gives me 2x cubed minus 6x minus 7x squared. Negative 7 times a negative 3 is a positive 21. Now, there are no like terms, but I'm going to rewrite it in descending order. And this problem is done. So let's scroll down. Now, 4x minus 9 squared. That is the same thing as 4x minus 9 times 4x minus 9. So now again, we're back to a binomial times a binomial. So I can FOIL it again. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. Combine like terms. Okay, so now I have 3x plus 7 squared. So again, I can rewrite it as 3x plus 7 times 3x plus 7. So again, I have a binomial times a binomial. So I can FOIL. Combine like terms. And we're done here. Okay, so let's continue to multiply. But before we do that, let's take a look at the two binomials. Notice both the first terms are x's, the last two terms are 8. So what's the difference between them? We've got a positive and we have a negative. So let's see what happens when we FOIL these. Well, that gives me x squared minus 8x plus 8x minus 64. Now notice what happens. Negative 8x plus 8x, that is 0. So that gives me x squared minus 64. So notice, we took x times x, that got me to x squared, and 8 times 8 is 64 with it being negative. This is what is called taking the product of a sum and a difference. So in general, when I have x minus y times x plus y, I have x squared, because that's what x times x is, minus y times y, which is y squared. Now, this form, x squared minus y squared, will come in very, very handy later on when we're trying to factor this back into x minus y and x plus y. Okay, so now let's do the next example. Notice this is the product of a sum and a difference. 3x squared, 4 and 4. But one is positive, the other one's negative, so I can use this general formula. Well, 3x squared times 3x squared, that is 9x squared. And 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. Now, if you want to multiply the other two out, that would be negative 12x squared plus 12x squared, which is 0. But this would be something nice to do because it'll save you a lot of time. Okay, let's take a look at the next example. All right, so it's 3x minus 2, the quantity cubed. Now, that's the same thing as 3x minus 2 times 3x minus 2 times 3x minus 2. So we're going to take these two at a time. I'm going to take this 3x minus 2 times this 3x minus 2. So it's a binomial times a binomial. So I'll FOIL. Now, we still need to multiply by the third 3x minus 2, so I'm just going to bring it down. I'll combine like terms, make it a little bit easier on ourselves here. Now, this is not a foilable problem because I have a trinomial times a binomial. But remember in the last video, we actually used a distributive property, so I could use that here also. So that's 9x squared and multiply it by 3x minus 2. I'll take the negative 12x and multiply by 3x minus 2. And I'll take the 4 and multiply by 3x minus 2. So distribute. Okay, now combine like terms. Now 27x cubed. This gives me negative 54x squared. Those combine to give me a positive 36x and minus 8. Okay, last example, very similar to the previous example. So I'll rewrite it as 4x plus 3 times 4x plus 3 times 4x plus 3. Okay? So again, I'm going to take two at a time. I'll FOIL. Don't forget to bring the 4x plus 3 down. So again, I'll combine like terms. Now again, I'm going to use the distributive property. So the 16x squared, multiply by 4x plus 3. Take the 24x, multiply by 4x plus 3. And then take the 9 and multiply by 4x plus 3. So distribute. And now combine like terms. And we're done here.